Hi, welcome to not another repaint video. This is the familiar I made for Thimble, my second Monopoly token repaint. I named this one Tim because I'm still bad at names. I decided to combine the craft fairy theme with a mouse. I always think about the mice in Cinderella when I sew, so the choice was pretty easy. I've never actually watched a complete movie from 1950, just bits and pieces. I'm a bigger fan of Ever After a Cinderella Story. Drew Barrymore makes me pterodactyl screech on inhalation, plus it's full of beautiful dialogue. Tim will be up on Patreon in 36 hours from publishing this video. I'll post a question there for my Patreons and the first person to answer correctly will be Tim's new owner. Also, don't forget to subscribe for future videos. I am currently working on my Monopoly series and the next video will be The Boot, which I fused with a steampunk aesthetic. Lots of miniature accessories and fall leather going on there. By the way, it's not an American football in his forehead, it's the third eye that I usually add to my familiars, but it does indeed look like a football. I can totally see it now, and now you probably can't unsee it. Oops. I highlighted with a white gel pen, then I went in with white acrylics before playing with some Coliro paints. They look like liquid gold. I could do this all day. I'm already thinking about what kind of animal would fit with a steampunk theme. Would a fox work? You know, the rust red color with some gears and goggles? Sleeping inside a big boot would be so cute, but I am getting ahead of myself. Let's take one project at a time. Tim, the Thimbles familiar, right after signing this. I painted the eyes with watercolors using the same pencils as on Thimble to make them match. It looks pretty messy at this point, you know, trust the process. Then after painting the pupils, I glossed them with some Liquitex gloss varnish and added some iridescent foil. To make the pieces stick, I dipped a toothpick in water. Then I let it all dry completely before adding a gloss varnish blob and adding the glass capuchons. This is my favorite part of making the eyes. Then, after leaving them overnight, I cut them out. With the eyes finished, I can start sculpting. As usual, I use Living Doll clay by Super Sculpey. First I make the base and then add the eyes, making it all look pretty derp but cute. Then I sculpt the nose using some reference pictures to get it somewhat mouse-like. With the mouth finished, I moved on to the eyelids. I am working around the eyes to give her a cute expression. Some final tweaking and the faceplate is finished. Next are arms and legs. I made the feet elongated to match the feet of a mouse sitting down. The front legs were pretty basic with 3 toes, then I added toe beans to all the little paws. I also added a thimble armor. After baking, I take the pieces off the forms and then buff the surface with sandpaper. Then I made the body. I used my basic pattern, cut out 4 pieces and sewed the darts. I realized that sewing without paper underneath actually works better for this fabric. Then I sewed the sides together, leaving a bit of a seam for the cutter pin joint and stuffing, leaving me with this sea urchin. So I turned it right side out. I've eye measured the circle and pushed a cotter pin joint through it, then I push it through the top of the body, careful not to cut any seams. Next I add another wooden and metal disc to it before bending the legs. Finally I twist them with pliers. I think it's a nice feature to be able to rotate the head. I stuffed the body with, well, stuffing. Is there a better word for it? I always think of turkey and Thanksgiving when I say that word, and I don't even celebrate Thanksgiving because I'm Swedish. Then I sew around the edge of the circle with running stitches before adding stuffing and closing it. Finally, I also close the seam on the body. Before airbrushing, I made the same type of foam clay base for the yarn buns. I love working with this clay, but it takes 24 hours to dry. Then I used white, magenta and a home mixed brown paint to airbrush all the pieces. At the final stage, I airbrush with Liquitex matte varnish. I'm not showing that anymore though, because you can't see it except that it turns matte. Pretty boring. Then the pieces are ready for some detailed painting. I paint the thimble armor with plate mail metal from the army painter. It covers so well and it looks so good. Then I use Coliro to paint some swirls as usual. Finally, it gets some Tamiya gloss varnish on the nose and around the eyes. I use a toothpick and a needle to scrape off the paint and varnish on the eyes. So pretty, I love the shine. As a last minute decision, I added some whiskers to him. I use some strands from this paintbrush that I really dislike. After drying, I added some glitter glue, because why not? Then I used my glue gun to attach the head plate to the form. The arms and legs get attached with the help of beads. That makes them a little bit poseable. Making the wings. It's the same type as the ones on Thimble. I just used the wings I printed that were way too small for the doll. First I cut them out, then I glue pieces of wire on the backside. After they have dried, I paint 2 layers of gold acrylics. After that has dried, I paint with liquid Fimo clay on both back and front, then I bake them. While they're in the oven, I create the little wires sticking out. I've seen people making tiny flowers with this nail polish technique, so I had to try it. Then the wings were baked and I used a piece of foam and a dotting tool to mess with the shape a bit. Finally, I twisted them together. The foam clay has dried and is ready to be made into yarn balls. First I stick toothpicks through them and add beads to make them look like knitting needles, then I glue the yarn, twinning it around. So cute! I left a piece of yarn on both, hanging loosely, then I made a stitch on the head to make 2 indentations where the yarn buns would fit nicely. Finally, I used really hot glue. I had some leftover wefts from Thimble and thought it would look cute with a small pink fringe. Time to attach the wings. After this, Tim is pretty much finished, but he had to have a mini staff similar to Thimble, so hang on there. I have 2 types of epoxy clay. This one is a lighter version. It still takes 24 hours to cure, but it weighs a lot less than the grey one, so it will be perfect for the crochet hook on the staff. I sculpted it, let it cure, then sanded it before I cut it into pieces and glued it back in some kind of swirl. Then I attached it to a piece of wooden dowel and did some painting. I cut this pointy end off and added some string for decoration. Then I painted the dowel. The base is finished and it needs some decoration. Out of these big feathers you can make small ones. Just cut them into smaller pieces and cut the vein. It got some fall leather before attaching the ornaments. there we have it. Let's make a sound check. It needed some glitter though. Tim is finished and ready for his new home. I love making these familiars because I can make the same concept but a different version of it. It's like, you know, eating a cookie and realizing there's one more left in the package. 2 for 1. You know that feeling? I don't know. So next up is a steampunk shoe. It's one of my most ambitious projects so far, with loads of new techniques, and I hope you'll enjoy watching the process of that one. I want to thank my Patreons, you are amazing, and I hope you liked him as much as I do. It will be hard parting from him, but I am so happy he's moving to one of you guys. So let me introduce Thimbles' familiar Tim. A little craft mouse fairy, a good person with no mischievous traits lurking under the surface. I hope you enjoyed watching the process of this little familiar. Subscribe for future videos and have a lovely day, or, you know, evening, depending on when you're watching this. Until next time, bye!